You're listening to Overdoing It, the Rhode Island Library podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Overdoing It, where our team of library workers dish about their latest reads, views, and passions alongside fascinating conversations with local luminaries. I'm your host, Emily Goodman, of the Office of Library and Information Services and former host of Rhody Radio, and my pronouns are she, her. Our guests today are co-founders of Heartleaf Books, a bookstore cooperative in Providence. Would you both please introduce yourselves to our audience?
Sure. Hi. I'm Mads Farricker. My pronouns are they, them, and I am one of the co-founders of Heartleaf Books.
And I am Caroline Barker, she, her, and I am the other co-founder of Heartleaf Books.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
A little bit later in the show, we'll talk to Caroline and Mads about their store and operating it as a cooperative. But before we get to that, we're going to start, as we always do, with what have you been reading?
All right. That's a great question. I read a lot. Obviously, probably more now as a bookstore owner than I ever did working as a librarian. And I have been kind of going through a kick of Korean and Korean American authors, reading translated stuff, mostly like sci-fi. I just read Snow Globe, which is a YA kind of dystopian translated book from, I think it's Delcourt. It's from Penguin. And right now I just finished a book called The Invisible Hotel, which is also is by a Korean Canadian author from Zando. And now I am reading another book by a Korean American author called Ocean's Gadori. And that one is Elaine Cho. And it's the first book from Issa Rae's new imprint. So I really wanted to get my hands on that one and read it because I'm super excited to see what kind of books she's going to publish.
Do you have a favorite of those three?
I always talk about 3 books. I have a hard time narrowing it down. I love...
You don't have to. I hate picking favorites, so it's okay. But
out of those, I really liked Snow Globe.
okay.
I do enjoy YA. I know a lot of people have feelings about YA, but I thought that, it was a story that could appeal to anyone. Definitely could be read by an adult. It covers a lot of issues about climate change and content and who gets to create content and how, it's distributed. So it really got me thinking about, all these different class issues that go along with climate change. So definitely recommend Snow Globe.
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum here and have been in a total reading slump and feel like I have read a lot less than when I was a librarian, but that's on me, I think. But I have been slowly but surely making my way through. I had to look up the title to make sure I got it right. I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I think it comes out in July. It's really fun. It's exactly what the title is. It is about a teenage slasher in rural Texas in, I think it's the 90s. And the teenage slashing has started. There's some undead people, some ghosts. I'm having a lot of fun. But yeah, it is. It's taking me a little longer than usual to get through it, but that's on me. You can cut that part. No, I'm kidding. It's really good though. I'm really enjoying it. And I think my favorite book I've read this year was probably Parasol Against the Axe by Helen Oyeyemi. She's one of my favorite authors, so I'm always really excited when she puts out a new book. And that one was really fun. I can't explain the plot at all because if you've read any of her books, you understand that that's just not something that's possible. It's a lot of magical realism, and I wouldn't say it's fantasy because it all takes place. It's in our world. This one takes place in Prague, and the narrator is the city of Prague.
Oh, interesting.
And that's like really the only thing that I can tell people when they pick it up at the store and they're like, I'm sold, I'm going to buy it. That's the weirdest description I've ever heard. So yeah, that's what I'm reading right now.
I am like, for the first time ever, I am currently reading a nonfiction book called The
Ooh.
Privatization of Everything by Donald Cohen. He's the founder of the organization In the Public Interest. It's a nonprofit research and policy organization that sort of focuses on basically ensuring that public services are available and working for everybody rather than um, selling off our assets in our communities to private organizations, which can sometimes be financially feasible for cities and towns up front. But then in the long run, right, we lose the oversight and the control of these things. And then companies can kind of do whatever they want and they can raise their prices and there's nobody holding them accountable. So it's sort of something of an expose, something of an exploration of how that's been going on throughout the country in the past years, and then also how we can sort of flip the script and make sure that when we're doing government contracts, we're doing so with an eye towards the public still being heavily involved in the oversight and ensuring that our social agencies and like things like water and trash pickup and those kinds of things stay working for everybody and not just people who can afford them, which I feel like as a librarian is right up my alley. So that's what I'm reading.
Yeah,
That sounds so cool. Yeah, we'll have to get a copy for the store.
definitely.
Yeah, it's a little bit older. I actually started. So I've heard about it a lot. I'm on the In the Public Interest newsletter, so I get info from them a lot. But there was another book called Poverty for Profit that used the privatization of everything, yeah, as one of their biggest sort of research. Like, I don't want to use the word Bible. I hate that. But a really big influence on the research for that book. And it, if I remember correctly, it specifically talks about the justice system and how so intertwined our justice system is with poverty and making money off of people who can't afford uh, basic necessities. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to read Poverty for Profit, I should probably first finally read The Privatization of Everything. It makes me sound really smart. Usually I'm reading a romance novel. I want to be really clear.
I know, I'm like extremely impressed. I mean, I would be impressed with a romance novel anyway because
Yeah.
I'm like I can't be that happy all the time, but fair enough. I mean, that sounds fascinating. So many of our current issues going on here in Providence and Rhode Island have so much to do with, investment capital, privatization, the outsourcing of services.
Mhm.
It's really intense and easy to see.
Yeah, in parts the book is interesting and fascinating, and in parts it's extremely frustrating. So I'm sure before long I will have another romance novel that I am taking breaks from this book with.
Yes, you got to balance it out.
Definitely.
So what are you guys watching at the moment?
Ooh,
I
Caroline?
just finished a Bear rewatch.
Okay.
Getting ready for season 3. We're really excited. I am anyway.
I learned that The Bear is not for me. I was like,
Boo.
I totally see the appeal of this show. It is beautiful. The food is amazing. I was like, I can't do it. Everyone is so close to the camera.
Oh, interesting. I haven't gotten into it because all I've seen is that the main character yells a lot, and like I already have a lot of feelings about watching like reality cooking shows where people get yelled at a lot. Hell's Kitchen, for example, and it stresses me out. So it's like I don't think that The Bear is for me, but I didn't realize that their faces were so close to the camera all the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are. I didn't
So,
really notice
how I
until
am
you
now.
pointed it out.
But yeah, so I mean, if they're so close to the camera and there's so much yelling and everyone's so angry, I was like, I need a palate cleanser. And I have been watching The Great North, which is an adult animation from the makers of Bob's Burgers. It's from the Molyneux sisters, and I hadn't realized that I missed an entire season, so I hopped on Hulu and I've been watching season 4. And I really feel like they've been hitting their stride. The characters are starting to feel more fleshed out. The jokes are hitting. I'm loving the way that they're bringing in some of the other characters from the town. So excited to see this one get hopefully as many seasons as Bob's Burgers. Highly recommend for a light watch.
Does Nick Offerman voice one of the characters, or am I thinking of something else?
You're correct. Yeah, he's the main character, Beef. He's
No, that's the bear.
I know it's the Beef is the show, is the restaurant on the bear.
Mhm.
And then Beef is the star, like the main character of Great North. And then they also make beef burgers on Bob's Burgers. So I'm like, these shows are all connected.
Everything's interconnected.
They're like all spin-offs of one universe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bear definitely takes place in the same universe as Bob's Burgers.
Definitely.
I'm gonna say that's canon.
Caroline and I, we're siblings. We watch a lot of TV together, and we love like figuring out which shows take place in the same universes. And we'll refer to things as like the Tina Fey cinematic universe or the Bob's Burgers cinematic universe. And we're like, these things are all happening at the same time on different planes. And it's so funny to think of them, all interacting with each other.
Does that mean that you've watched Great News?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So good.
So good.
That's a good one.
Love Great News. It definitely has some amazing one-liners, and there's an episode where they come up with a jingle for the show, like a new jingle.
Oh, God.
And it is so funny. Like, I get that song stuck in my head to this day. Love a 30-minute comedy.
My only note is that I wish Nicole Richie had been playing herself, like just hosting the show as Nicole Richie. I think it would have been perfect. That's my one note. Otherwise, no notes. It's perfect.
I love that.
What have you been watching?
I just finished watching. Okay, so I'm going to say really quickly, I am constantly rewatching Bob's Burgers. And I think I started Great North a couple years ago, maybe like when the first season dropped. And I thought it was pretty good, but somehow I just like didn't keep up with it. So I'll have to go back and rewatch it because I just love Bob's Burgers so much. And I tried watching Central Park when I had access to Apple TV also last year. Also very good. I love all of the creators of Bob's Burgers. But I'm about to drop another really serious thing that I just watched.
Okay.
Just so not like me. I feel like you're getting a very different view of who I am as a person. But this past week with a couple of friends, I watched the documentary Your Fat Friend by Aubrey Gordon, who is probably best known for her podcast Maintenance Phase. And so it's all about her life from, it seems like they started filming a long time ago before she got her first book deal and when her first sort of article like think piece went viral on the internet, and then spoiler alert, she had a stalker. And so it's all about her life and her sort of existing in the world as an advocate for anti-fatness, and it was really beautiful. I don't know if either of you have seen it, but highly recommend.
I didn't realize it was out yet. I'm definitely going to have to take a look. I've been getting a lot of Instagram ads for it. I don't know what that says about me, but I am very excited to watch it.
It means that you're a perfect audience member for this movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Have definitely like posted her book on our Instagram. So I think that makes sense.
I love it. I love Maintenance Phase, and I've been following her on Instagram for a while. It's also like hard at times to watch, but it's really, really good. All right. Anything else that you've been loving recently that is not specifically books or media, or it can be anything that you're like really getting into that you're jazzed about that you want to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, it's Pride Month now. I'm not quite sure when this will be coming out, but this is kind of where we shine with our queer book selection at Heartleaf, and I saw a post on Instagram that someone had posted of their 2015 Pride display at their bookstore versus their 2024 Pride display. And it was like 5 books, and now there's hundreds. And like, we're just in, such a cool time in book publishing with own voices and queer voices. And it's so exciting to see all of these awesome gay books getting published. So I'm really excited about, there's so many. Housemates is one that just came out. Oye by Melissa Mogollon, and she's a Rhode Island-based author, and a friend of a friend. So excited to have that one out in the world. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I can just start looking at my bookshelf and name books, but that probably wouldn't be super helpful. But we will have curated lists and all sorts of cool social media posts up all month if people are looking for suggestions.
I saw that Casey McQuiston, the one who wrote One Last Stop, has a new book coming out.
Yeah, Casey McQuiston. Her next book is The Pairing, and it comes out in August. The pub date has already been pushed back 3 times, so I'm hoping it actually comes out in August. Fingers crossed.
I'm on the advanced listener copy list on Libro, and it was in the June list, so fingers crossed. I hope that means good things.
Oh, yeah. If there's an audiobook already done, it's definitely coming out. That's great news. I love the advanced listener copies from Libro FM. I hoard them like a small animal hoards.
I have so many.
So many.
I'll listen to them someday.
It's like a physical book. It's nice knowing that you have them.
Yes. I started last month. I was in just a small slump. So usually I'm listening to my books. I hardly ever read books in like physical copies. And I don't know why. I've been using NetGalley for a while. And sometimes I get their advanced listener copies of things. I'm very bad at listening on time. And so I kind of like the idea that like with Libro, I don't have to do anything about it. So I at first tried to be like, I'm only going to take the things I'm most excited about. But by the end of the month, I was like, they're going to go away. So I have to just like download everything. So I did. And then June 1st came and I was like, oh, I just got to take everything. And I don't know when I'm going to get to it. But it's nice to know that it's there.
Definitely. I love those. As a librarian, I did get access to a lot of that stuff, but as a bookstore buyer, you get basically unlimited access to all of the content. We get sent advanced reading copies in the mail. We get emails daily asking us to download digital copies, all of the advanced listening copies. It's really been a pleasant surprise for us running the store, how many just like marketing materials we get, truly. We always have, bookmarks, posters, activity booklets, so much free stuff. Every once in a while when people come in the store, we'll be like, do you want any of these things? Like we'll do random ARC giveaways. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm taking a welding class.
Ooh.
That starts next week. I'm excited about that.
That's really exciting. How did you get connected with that?
I was like, I need to do something. I need to take a class or like learn a skill. And then I was looking up classes at the Steel Yard in Providence. And I was like, this one is at a time that I could do it. And like, wouldn't it be cool to weld something?
It would be.
So that's what I'm excited about. It's a flower making class. I'm gonna make a flower.
That's incredible. I'm very excited for you.
Thank you. What are you excited about?
So I'm just excited, even though I'm not much of a summer person, that the weather is turning. And it feels very mundane, but my dog, who's in the background, and I go to Goddard Park a lot. And this past week, for some reason, it's just been so hot. We've just been sitting in the shade. And, like, I don't know, I'm just excited to sit in the shade at Goddard Park and look at the trees and hang out with my dog after work. Yeah.
That sounds...
Oh, no. We said it at the same time. That's awesome.
That sounds lovely.
Thanks. I think so, too. And with that, we'll move into our second segment of the show. So listeners of Rhody Radio will remember that this past spring I hosted a few episodes exploring cooperatives and the idea of the solidarity economy with guests like Freza Liberal, Nuts and Bolts Nursery, White Electric Coffee, and the Rhode Island Birthworkers Cooperative. Links to each of these past episodes will be linked in our show notes, and I encourage you, if you're joining us in this episode for the first time, to explore those episodes for a look at how cooperatives have grown in our state over the past decade. There is also some great discussion in the first episode about what a cooperative is and the different types of cooperatives that exist and operate in Rhode Island. So, Caroline and Mads, can you start off just by explaining to our listeners what style of cooperative Heartleaf Books is and how you came to the decision to operate your business this way?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are what is called a hybrid co-op. We're a worker-owned and consumer-owned cooperative. So this is a kind of co-op that generally exists, in the retail space. There are hybrid co-op grocery stores, bookstores, other cooperatives, and how we operate is the people who own the store, work in the store, or buy at the store. We have the two worker owners right now. We hope to have more in the future as we, grow our sales and our reach. And so that's Caroline and I. And then on the consumer side, we have kind of a one-time share program where you can do a sliding scale membership and join the co-op for a one-time share. It starts at $25, and we offer our co-op members discounts on books. So you get 7% off in store, 10% off online, and we only buy used books from our members. So our used book program has been really popular. It's been a way for people to bring in what they have. And because our members have great taste, we almost never turn anything down. So they bring in their books and they can turn that into cash or store credit. And we offer, kind of the same for both. We don't have a tiered system. And with those consumer members, we also have our board of directors. That's a group of people we put together right when we started in 2022, end of 2021.
Yeah.
And those folks have helped us find the space, get it open. They provide so much support for us as the worker owners. We're not really, in a position where we can close the store for a day. So if we ever need a day off, we have our network of board members and volunteers who come in and volunteer at the store. And there are also people who are really passionate about what we're doing and love books and want to talk to people about them. And that part has worked out really well for us. And I mean, basically a bookstore in this economy, we definitely wanted to go the co-op route kind of from the beginning. We kind of saw the bookstore working with the model of economic solidarity. A bookstore isn't going to work unless people pledge to spend their money there. And by doing the cooperative model, we were able to not only gauge interest and see if a brick and mortar was plausible, but we also got a ton of support from other cooperatives in New England and Rhode Island. We were able to secure funding for the store, by proving that there was interest to the Cooperative Fund of the Northeast, and they kind of signed off on the project, which is how we were able to open the store. And I mean, I also want to emphasize we're not a co-op only shopping place. Anyone can come in off the street and buy books. We also, we run sales pretty regularly, so anyone can take advantage of those sales. But our members do get to stack their discounts. So that is kind of that one perk. But yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do this without being a cooperative. We, have had so much enthusiasm and love from the bookish community, from the queer community, from makers and organizations like House of Kodak Markets and Providence Flea, have all, been behind us the whole time. So it's been a really wonderful experience. And I'm so glad that you were able to talk to all those other co-ops. We know all of them, and they are such great people. Did you want to add anything, Caroline?
I think you said all of it. Yeah, we definitely, making it a co-op just seemed really obvious because like a bookstore is a communal place. So we were like, let's bring in the community. And I think also coming from libraries, we're like, libraries, what is a library if not a co-op? You pay your taxes, they open the library, you get to borrow the books.
I love it.
Easy.
Easy.
So eloquent.
So, what's been the biggest difference for you, sort of switching from being librarians that push free books on people to being the booksellers?
Honestly, it was kind of like a lack of mobility. At least at the library where I was working, I was working part-time. Wasn't seeing a lot of opportunities for full-time. So, and that's like a whole big conversation about funding and stuff. But yeah, I think just kind of realized we needed to try to do something on our own, but that's not the right term because we're not doing it on our own. It's a co-op. I don't know. What do you think?
So, yeah, I mean, for both of us working in libraries, we had been at the same institutions for, several years. We weren't really seeing the opportunities that we wanted. And I also saw in Providence that there was, kind of a gap in the market for a bookstore on Fed Hill on the west side. And for a queer bookstore. We have some really fabulous bookstores in Providence, but they're not always going to have, that weird intersectional feminist queer book that I'm looking for, or even some of, more popular things. Like, and not every bookstore in Providence is going to carry Gideon the Ninth, which is our book club book for June. And, I wanted a store in Providence where I could find like Gideon and the Sunbearer Trials and Olivia Blake and, Sarah Ella Rothy and all of Samantha Shannon. Like, I wanted all my fantasy stuff. And it has, and so that was one of the reasons that we wanted to open the store, was because there is, kind of a lack of a place to meet and gather and look at books and buy books. And I know it's, counterintuitive, but I have always been a book buyer. Even working at libraries, I rarely found myself checking out books. And if I did, like when I was at Brown, I would have books for years. I had to go through my house when I left and like look for anything that, maybe was a Brown book, because I just was never reading them. And I always, I really like interacting with a book in a way that isn't necessarily appropriate in a library. I like to write all over the pages. I dog ear. I know, gasp.
No gasp for me. I'm a dog earer too.
Great. I love to hear it. I really beat up my books, and I feel bad like borrowing one and then I know I'm going to ruin it. So I've always been, a book buyer. I really cherish the ones I have, and I love, rereading and writing in them, using them as reference, all sorts of stuff.
And I'm someone that likes to check the book out from the library first, and then after I've read it, then I go out and buy it. Because for me, it's like I don't know, it's like a trophy or something. You're like, look at my book that I read. I'm going to put it on my shelf, and everyone's going to know.
I love that. I have a mix in my house. It's a mix, but it's like 90 to to 10.
Mhm.
10% of my books are things that I've already read, and they are signed
Mm.
books. That's kind of what I treasure. And then the rest of my books are like, I'm going to get to them one day books, because I
Yeah.
otherwise, like I said, I'm an audiobook listener. And so, like, I'm just going to listen to the audiobook. I go to bookstores and look, and I'm like, oh, I got to get this on audiobook. So I just want to like mention, we talked about it a little bit before, Libro FM, which supports bookstores like you. Yeah. So I hear that. I love having books to look at them, but sometimes when people are looking at my shelves, I get super nervous because I'm like, "Oh no, don't ask me about that because I haven't read it yet. I don't know anything about it, but it looks good, doesn't it?"
I have my TBR books are like on a separate shelf. It's like these are the
Mm,
shelves that I've read. This is the TBR shelf. This is the official TBR pile. The one that's like really on deck is over on like the coffee table. Yeah, I do have to admit I have been checking out books from the library a little less. It's hard when you're just surrounded by books all the time and I get to just take them home with me and it's like a business expense. It's a write-off. Um, but yeah, it is. I understand. I'm like, that's the separate shelf. Don't look at that one. Haven't read
yeah.
those yet.
And I imagine if I was swimming in ARCs, I also wouldn't have time to check out at the library either. So
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Most of those, they can't even come home. You would just be drowning in them. They stay at the store.
That's fair. So what's your favorite part of being a bookseller, having a bookstore?
Oh,
I want to hear your favorite part.
I'm like, it's really fun that I like interacting with the people and talking about books and getting to like order the books is fun. I'm like, I don't know. I sound like such a dork. I love my job. But yeah, it's really it's the people, the community aspect. I love when people come in and they see our bookstore cat Penny for the first time. Um, there's two different types. There's the people who already follow us on Instagram and they know she's going to be there and they like freak out like they're meeting a celebrity. And then there's the people who don't know she's going to be there and they are just like completely enchanted. They're like, "Oh my god, a cat has approached me."
Totally.
That's always fun. And sometimes she's like in her bed and someone kind of goes over near where her bed is. I'll kind of watch because I'm like, they're going to notice her and they're going to be so excited.
Do you have anybody who comes just to see Penny and then like leaves and they're like, "All right,
Oh my
thanks,
God, all
bye."
the time. All the
Like
time.
every day. Every
People come
day.
in, they're like, I just want to see a penny. And then they say hi and then they leave. But
Okay,
they
so
do
it's
buy stuff.
okay to do that, is what you're saying. I can make
Yes.
that part of my routine. Thanks.
We're like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
We do appreciate if you become a co-op member or, maybe buy a book once in a while, but you're absolutely allowed to come in every
Mhm.
day and pet the cat. We're not going to stop you.
Yeah, people come in and they ask to see the manager and they mean Penny. um, yeah, she is a superstar.
Definitely. Um, yeah, I mean, my favorite parts about running the store, I just love the variety. It's every single day is different. There's always hundreds of books coming out every week. We, meet on average like 200 people come in the store a week. And we are always talking to people constantly, hearing their stories, how they interact with books. There's a really magical moment when you are able to match a book with the person and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy this. I'm really excited about it. And it feels like it's just so great being a book matchmaker, and seeing someone, get excited and be happy about a story that they're going to read. Um, yeah, it's so wonderful. It's really, really great. I love that. And I also really like building our Instagram and our online community, like creating interesting content, to put on our Instagram. We always have Penny, being a little model and, creating posts about what's new in the store, what like new sidelines. So that would be like bookmarks, art, cards we have coming in. Working with new vendors to find like zine makers and going to different community events to connect with people. But yeah, 100%. It's definitely all the connections we've made.
What's really cool? One of our members is getting married later this month, and we're doing like an open book bar at her wedding.
Cool.
So like every guest can just like, they paid for it. It's an open bar. Any guest can take a book. It's like the bride and groom's favorite books that they picked out. We get to go to the wedding, which is cool. That's something that like that would have never happened. And now we have a really cool story. And yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, and if anybody's getting married and wants to do an open book bar, like we are
Let us
so
know.
there for it. We know how to do it now, and it is going to be a blast.
Yes, by the time this comes out, it will have happened. So we did the book bar. It was a huge success.
Everybody got books.
Booked out so many more weddings for like the whole summer. Really exclusive. Get on the list now.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a really cool, and in terms of wedding stuff, almost affordable thing to do at a ceremony. Like they're definitely paying more for flowers than they are for books. So, in the grand scheme of thing, it's a really cool thing that you could add to your event.
Yeah, we can't really upcharge you on books, so
that's true.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, we're really excited about that. So many cool opportunities. And I mean, my work at Heartleaf on social media has gotten me a part-time job working at the University of Rhode Island doing social media. And so it's been a really cool way to kind of show off our talents with nonsense, making content, making memes, taking silly pictures, writing funny captions that get people to interact. So, it's been really great. We just hit 4,000 followers today.
Congratulations. Yay.
Thank you.
Yes.
4,000. Woo.
Amazing.
Thank you.
All right, so my last question, I think, for you will be, you mentioned that you have a book club that's happening in June. Do you do other events that people could look out for? How do they join your book club? Anything like that?
We absolutely love our book club. It's so much fun. We meet the third Sunday of every month at 4 at the store. It's no registrations required. It's free and open to anyone. People don't even buy the book from us anymore. They just like show up. But if you do want to buy the book, we do a monthly book box and we'll send it to your house. But we usually choose a fiction book. Sometimes we'll do a special nonfiction event. And I think all of the books we've picked so far are a little bit gay, at least a little bit. Yeah.
If it's not, the people in the book club complain. So
we try to pick, high interest books that are out in paperback that we think people will like, because it is important to us to have, we don't want people spending $30, $35 on a book for book club that we don't know that they'll even like. So we try to keep it, as a paperback, something that's going to be under 20. So it's not a huge investment for people. And the response has been really great. We have 3 people who have come to every single book club. And then we have like a rotating cast of people. And it's really a blast. Our summer ones are very popular. We're doing Gideon the 9th in June. So we're planning, on having a lot of people there. Maybe 20 or 30 would be really great. We might have to move out of
have that many chairs.
We might have to move out of the store and into the park next door. But we already have our July one picked out, so people can come to that. We're going to be hosting a book club for A Love Like the Sun, which is the new romance novel by Rhys Nielsen, who lives here in Rhode Island. She's a great friend of the store, and it's her first adult romance. So we're going to do a book club July 21st at 4 in the park next to the store. And Riss is going to join us so we can talk about the book and, get any questions that people want to ask of her. We know that everyone's going to love it and it's going to be a great time. So we're really excited. And Heartleaf Books and Penny the Cat get a shout out in Riss's book.
We're in the book.
We're in the book. So, we're super excited for it to get into people's hands in June and to have this book club in July. And, in addition to the book club, we do author events every once in a while. We're a small space, so we can't have like a big thing unless we work with another venue, which we've done before. But
actually, for Riss's last book.
Yeah, we teamed up with the Industrious Spirit Company to do an outdoor event there. That was really fun.
Yeah.
And we have a couple things coming up this summer. We have our first kids story time. So that's going to be July 20th. We're having a local kids book illustrator come in to read her book. So we're really excited about that. And we're also going to be popping up at some markets. So we're going to start doing some markets again. You might see us at the House of Kodak markets, Providence Flea. Keep an eye out. We'll definitely be sharing on Instagram and, always trying to keep the website as updated as possible.
So you're going to have your cash book bars out this summer. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Wonderful.
I tried really hard on that one. Anything else that you want to mention before we move on to our last chapter?
I feel like we haven't hyped Penny enough. Penny the cat is wonderful. She is an incredible manager. She's so friendly. She never runs outside. We've never seen a mouse. She is just the best.
She's great at her job.
She's great at her job. And, if you want any recommendations, she'd be happy to sit on them for you.
Excellent. Go see Penny at the bookstore.
Support your local indie bookstore cat by buying books from her home.
Are you the only bookstore in Rhode Island that has a bookstore cat?
Someone got one.
Stillwater Books got a cat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a co-op member who works there or worked there, and she told us that they got a cat. So that's very cute. I mean, we're totally different vibes. Stillwater and Heartleaf, but love them, love their press.
Yeah.
Happy for their cat.
But Penny is, we believe, the only bookstore cat in Providence.
Okay. Only Providence bookstore cat. I love it.
And she was actually recently voted the third cutest bookstore cat in the country.
Wow. Way to go, Penny.
Yeah.
So she's a pretty serious contender.
She is a real celebrity now. So when people come see the celebrity.
We were on the Jennifer Hudson show. So Jennifer Hudson knows Penny.
Oh my gosh.
And she also knows Beyonce. So
that's only two.
As far as we know, Beyonce knows Penny.
Beyonce follows Penny on Instagram is what I'm hearing.
Definitely. We don't know that she doesn't follow us on her Finsta that I assume exists.
That is totally a good point, Caroline. She probably does.
She definitely does. Definitely.
Yeah. Without doubt.
I'm pretty sure I can claim, though, that I'm the only queer trans bookstore owner in Rhode Island. Yeah, great. I think that everyone else is cis. Yes.
I love this. I love claiming superlatives for people.
Okay. But if someone else comes out, would love to start a club.
Yes, please correct us if we're wrong.
Please correct us if we're wrong.
All right. So with that, we're going to wrap the show with a segment called The Last Chapter, where we talk about a library or bookish related question. So today, I'm going to ask you, what author would you want to host their world premiere book stop tour at Heartleaf Books? And they can be publishing now or not publishing now, whether that's, alive or dead, whatever that may be.
I already said she's one of my favorite authors, so I'm gonna say Helen Oyeyemi. Come to Heartleaf, turn us into a magical Prague bookstore. My other thing I'm gonna say is I won't say her name. She'll get mad at me if I say too much. But my best friend is currently headed to auction for her first book. So
Ooh.
realistically, we will be hosting that. So she knows who she is. They know who they are. So yeah, I'm gonna say that person.
Okay.
You know who you are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
So the answer is mystery.
Yeah. Is coming soon. Follow Heartleaf Book on Instagram to find out when that happens.
Yes, 100%. I would definitely invite Sarah El-Arifi. She has written one of my favorite fantasy trilogies in the last few years. It's the Ending Fire trilogy, and the third book, also called The Ending Fire, comes out this year. And I just think it would be so cool to like have her in the store all the way from the UK and launch her American book here. I'm super excited for this one to come out, and I highly recommend the series. The first one is called The Final Strife. This is like my third take doing this. I kept messing up the titles. But yeah, highly recommend. She is a really great author.
With that, how can people find you online on Instagram? What's your handle? What's your website?
Yeah, you can find us at heartleafbooks.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Heartleaf Books.
All one word.
Yeah. We have a TikTok. Sometimes we post on it. That is also at Heartleaf Books.
You can also find us on bookshop.org and Libro FM if you want to support us through either of those e-commerce platforms. We'd really appreciate it. And yeah, you can find us at 374 Atwells Ave in Providence. We are open Monday through Friday from 12 to 7, Saturday 11 to 7, and Sunday from 11 to 4, with some wiggle room on the end there for book clubs and events and stuff.
Sometimes later on Sunday if we just feel like it.
Yeah, sometimes we'll just stay open because we feel like it. We like lurking there. It's fun.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's everywhere you can find us, or at least we want to be found.
Yes, that's where we would like to be found.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you everyone for listening. Overdoing It is proud to be a resident partner of the Rhode Island Center for the Book, and brought to you by library staff and community members all around the Ocean State. And if you'd like to respond to the last chapter topic, if you'd like to tell us who you think Heartleaf should have for their world premiere book tour stop, you can send an email to overdoingitpod@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at overdoingitpod. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to help us reach more Rhode Islanders. And thank you both again.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was so fun, Emily. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.